I'd like to welcome you back to the course. This is Basics of Entrepreneurship, Student Edition, Lesson 2. And now we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. In the last section, we talked about being an employee. Now we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship and the economy. In the previous lesson, we used a general definition for entrepreneur. As you know, there are many definitions for entrepreneur. While the wording may be different, definitions basically are the same. For this lesson, we are going to use a different definition, which comes from our book, which we'll be using for the rest of the class, called Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management. The book states an entrepreneur is an individual who undertakes the creation, organization, and ownership of a business. Lesson 2 Objectives. First, to explain the role of entrepreneurship in the economy. Second, to explain the laws of supply and demand. Third, to understand what entrepreneurs contribute to the economy. And fourth, to understand the entrepreneurial process. To start, I'd like to begin with making a distinction between two terms that are probably used interchangeably. That is small business and entrepreneurship. The difference between small business and entrepreneurship lie in the intention of the founders of the business. Small business owners generally start the business to create a job for themselves and a satisfying lifestyle. These businesses can stay small or grow into a larger business. Entrepreneurs generally start their business to innovate, grow the venture, and create value that can be harvested when they leave the business. Entrepreneurs and small businesses play an important part in our economy. More than 90% of all businesses are small businesses. These businesses usually have fewer than 100 employees. About 1 in 3 households is involved in a small business. To understand how entrepreneurs and customers interact in the economy, you need to start with economics. Economics is the study of the decisions or choices that go into making, distributing, and consuming products. Having freedom of economic choices is a very important part of the entrepreneurial process. Most democratic nations allow consumers freedom of choice in deciding what products or services they want to purchase. These choices are called economic choices. Whenever consumers have a freedom of economic choices, it is said that the consumer is part of a free enterprise system. There are 3 concepts that are very important to discussing the free enterprise system. The first is people can choose what products they buy. The second, people can choose to own private property. And third, people can choose to start a business and compete with other businesses. Now, another term for the free enterprise system is something that you've probably experienced or heard before, which is capitalism or market economy. A primary incentive in the free enterprise system is to make a profit. Profit is the money that is left after all expenses of running a business have been deducted from income. Most, if not all, business owners have making a profit their primary goal. And one way to measure the success of their business is through profit. The concept of risk plays an important role in a free enterprise system as well. Risk encourages the production of quality products that consumers can choose from. Another key component in a free market economy is competition. Competition forces companies or businesses to become more efficient, as well as providing ways to keep prices down and quality up. As mentioned earlier in the lesson, economics is a key component when studying entrepreneurship. Economics is the study of the decisions that go into making, distributing, and consuming products. Key concepts for the study of economics are goods and services. Goods and services are the products that our economic system produces to satisfy our wants. Factors of production. These are the resources that businesses use to produce the goods and services that people want. Factors of production can consist of labor, land, entrepreneurship, and/or capital. And then there's scarcity. When wants are greater than the resources you have, scarcity exists. In a free enterprise system, the price of your product is determined by the marketplace. When this happens, it is said that consumers and producers are interacting in response to the laws of supply and demand. At this point, let's spend a little time talking about some basic principles of economics. Demand, the amount of quantity of goods or services that consumers are willing and able to buy. The law of demand says, price is inversely related to demand. As price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down. Not all products respond the same to this law. A change in price in some products may not have the same effect on demand as it would in others. Elastic. When a small change in price causes a significant change in the quantity demanded, the demand for the item is elastic. Inelastic. If a change in price has little or no effect on the quantity demanded, demand for the item is inelastic. In general, demand tends to be inelastic in these circumstances: where there are no acceptable substitutes, the price change is small relative to buyer income, and the product is a necessity. There are exceptions to the laws of demand. A low price does not mean an increase in demand. When price alone does not determine the demand for a product, it is said the product has diminishing marginal utility, which is the exception to the rule for the law of demand. Let's talk about another important rule of economics, which is supply. Supply is the amount of goods and services that producers are willing to provide. General rules for supply are: producers are more willing to supply products when prices are high. On the other hand, producers are less willing to supply products when prices are low. Supply and demand are dynamic in the marketplace. That is, they are constantly changing. This creates surpluses, shortages, and equilibrium. The point where consumers buy all of a product that is supplied, leaving neither a surplus nor a shortage, is called equilibrium. Entrepreneurs contribute a great deal to our economy. In this section, we will go over some of the things which they contribute. First, entrepreneurs are the mechanism by which our economy turns demand into supply. Second, entrepreneurs are a principal source of venture capital. Third, entrepreneurs provide jobs. And fourth, entrepreneurs change society. Next, we'd like to talk about the entrepreneurial process. The 5 components in the entrepreneurial process are the entrepreneur, which we have talked about earlier in the lesson, the environment, which includes all those variables that affect the new business that are not controlled by the entrepreneur, the opportunity, which is an idea that has commercial value, the startup resources, are the needs an entrepreneur may need to start the business, and that includes capital, skilled labor, management expertise, and legal and financial advice. And finally, the new venture organization, which is the shell that surrounds all the products, processes, and services that are a part of the new business. I'd like to talk about briefly success and failure of new businesses. However, we will probably get into this in more detail in later lessons of the course. Success is generally defined as the amount of profit and assets the company has in its possession. Failure is almost equally as simple. A business that files for bankruptcy and loses money for creditors The people who lent them money and the investors is usually considered a failure. Sometimes, though, a business does not fail, it is just discontinued. A business that disappears from a public list or changes its name is considered discontinued. According to D&B or Dun & Bradstreet, about 30% of all businesses fail after 10 years. This is the end of the presentation for this lesson. At this point, you should go to the web page and continue to do the lessons as assigned.